Appreciate all you guys coming. Obviously, yesterday one of the things I want to do is give Russell an opportunity to speak on his own terms. And once you get to know him a little bit, he's a very dedicated, very serious. He's very on task with everything that he does. I've learned that over the last couple of months recruiting him and talking with him and the people around him. I wanted to give him yesterday to just speak his voice and speak his opinions. That's why I stayed away from anything other than our comment. But very excited to have him in our program. And you know, a lot of people are going to have certain perceptions on what they think happened during the recruiting process. One thing that I was very clear with him the first time that we talked when he was here on campus going into the last couple days into the decision is he's going to come in, he's going to be part of a team, he's going to buy into what we're doing and bring his skill set and his personality and his demeanor and his leadership skills and see how it blends in here at Wisconsin. And he wasn't promised a starting job, but obviously I told him as a guy with 1 year of eligibility, I'm not bringing you in with the intention of seeing how you sit on the bench. He's going to come in, he's going to try to earn a starting job. And I was very cautious about the way our current quarterbacks as well as our players, and he was very well received, on a short visit here, and everything I've learned about him, I think it'll be a nice fit once he's here full time. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Bret, what can you guys do in terms of working with him before camp? What are the rules on getting him in the office?
Yeah, basically this is a frustrating time for coaches because your players are on campus, they're involved in classes, they're in our workouts, but we can't have anything from a coaching perspective to talk with them about. So, there's obviously once he gets on campus, our players will be the best coaches. And I think, even Scott Tolzien, a guy that's been in the program, Scotty's been kind of asking me questions. He and I were at the same event yesterday, and he said anything I can do to help, So we'll be very cautious about that. I think the part that I've learned about him, he's a very quick learner. He learns things very quickly from not only obviously graduating in 3 years at NC State, but also I think it'll carry over to the football field very easily.
How important do you think this month will be to get him ready for camp, and how much can you get accomplished?
Well, that was the part that jumped out to me. When I was first starting to get to be aware of the situation, I'm trying to build a relationship with him. I didn't want to push the envelope as far as, hey, what's your timeline? What are you thinking? So when he was here on his visit, I kind of laid out 3 different maps or 3 different things that could take him on his path to be a part of Wisconsin football. And I had set one, my ambitious one was to come back right after the 4th of July and have a week here to kind of get acclimated. Summer school second session starts July 11th. He could pop into that and take a couple classes, get acclimated with our kids and kind of the environment. And the last one was coming, basically sometime in July whenever he felt ready. I didn't think, and he last year when he did this, he didn't go back to NC State till August 1st, and he felt it didn't have himself prepared. He, I think, learned from that a year ago and knew he needed to get here ahead of that, and that's what we're doing.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge in trying to grasp your offense coming off, 3 years at NC State?
Well, I think, you're going to naturally try to mold the two together, but NC State's verbiage and Paul Chris' verbiage is 2 totally different things. Football language takes on unique environment each place that you go to. A Power here is a Panther here, and our football kids know that, but it's just a way of communicating. So I think the transition will go quicker than you think, especially when you're dealing with Russell. The biggest challenge I think will just in the locker room, getting to know guys for the first time on a very well. He's got a fiance, so he's a little bit more advanced in life than a lot of our guys. So, maturity-wise, I think it'll be interesting to see how he handles it. But, every person I talk to, I've visited with his fiance, I visited with his brother, I visited with high school coaches, I visited with his baseball agent. Everyone just talks about how well he blends with everything that he's been put into.
What can he grasp just by having the playbook in hand? At times,
terminology, but you're always guarded because when he's learning the playbook because when the coaches aren't around, so you want to make sure he's learning the right way and the path that that we teach here at Wisconsin and kind of lay it out in front of us. But the good thing with fall camp too, it's there's true freshmen that have come in and played this system. As not as a quarterback, but guys can grasp it once they understand the concepts pretty easily.
What was John's reaction when you first heard the news this was official?
I haven't talked to John yet. Yesterday when I came in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning, it was it was a fiasco and a half. I had prepared his scholarship papers last week because I felt this decision was coming. I wanted to have them ready. So when I left the office last Friday, I thought I had placed them in the middle of my desk. I'd taken them home with me. So came in here to fax them, and I'm like, I can't find them, so I have to run home. I shot him an email because we couldn't talk, and I basically said, hey, I left them on my kitchen counter. I got to go back and get them. He's like, Coach, you got to be better prepared than that. I mean, it's just kind of, that's how he is. But when I first came in the office, I opened my door, and my quarterbacks were all walking down. They just got done with the workout. So I haven't had a chance to visit with him since the announcement, but both Paul and I both had a conversation with him when this whole thing was going on. I love John's reaction. He goes, Coach, he goes, whatever happens, he goes, it's not going to change the way I prepare for this upcoming season. And I really think that's how he'll handle it.
What makes him a good fit for your offense?
Well, obviously the maturity factor. A guy that's started so many games and played in environments and played in big games. His competitive nature. I love the fact that he's graduated in 3 years while playing football and baseball. Even before he was playing, obviously, minor league baseball, he was playing college baseball. And for someone to do that in 3 years at the level that he did is pretty impressive in the way he handles everything. If you do a little background in history, you realize that he lost a father just about a year to go to this date, and to see the way he's responded from that and the way he talks about that, and obviously a young man of tremendous faith. So I think that's anytime I've been around that when it's sincere. My first one probably was Luke Swan. My next one was Chris Maragos. Aaron Henry is very much like that, and those guys, the more I've been around it, just have this presence and this faith that goes beyond football, and that's the stuff that you can't put a price tag on.
Will you participate in any summer conditioning at all?
Oh yeah, he'll be once he clears his physical, he's just like an incoming freshman. He'll actually probably get here sometime. He's trying to get here tomorrow, but I encourage him to take some time, spend some time at home with the family, because once he comes here, it'll be basically until all this is done. So I know he's very interested in taking classes on July 11th, so he'll hopefully get his physical pass sometime early next week, and he'll be able to start running.
How different was this recruiting process to all the other recruiting you did?
100% the most unique situation ever. Because he's playing pro baseball, he literally had 2 days off. 1 day off in May when he went and visited Auburn, 1 day off in June when he came here. The set of rules that apply to him, basically, it's kind of like recruiting a high school kid who's in the recruiting stage, but you can't go see him. So it was very frustrating for me, because when you're recruiting a young man, usually you get to know their family, you go to their home. I actually put in an appeals to the NCAA. He had to sign off on it, where we tried to get special legislation passed, an emergency, where I could go see his mom. His mom obviously has a daughter still in the home. She couldn't travel here on an official visit. So I wanted to at least go see Mom. I was trying to do that. Worked with our Big Ten people, or not only Katie here in compliance, but the Big Ten, and also on the NCAA level. Went in front of the committee and they rejected it. But my point was, this is such a unique recruiting process. You can't really apply high school rules to this situation. Right away, as soon as I got the transfer and we started deciding we were going to go down this road, I wanted to send either myself or a coach to go watch a baseball game to get an evaluation, an on-site evaluation, and they wouldn't allow that because it's a professional environment, so we couldn't go do that. Only one thing that we did do that I thought was a good move on our part, I sent Paul Christ to his old high school, and just wanted to gather as much information about what kind of person he was, and I don't think anybody else in the country did that. So Paul spent a day there, which was really neat, because he learned a lot about him just from visiting that school, even when he wasn't there.
Did you have any reservations about doing this when it started?
Well, as soon as I got the release, I knew the name. I'd seen the kid play, and obviously, just from a college football fan, watching, I believe he's on a couple Thursday night games, and really didn't know a lot about him, didn't recruit him in high school, obviously. First thing we did is reach out to the coaches that we knew at NC State, find out what the whole situation was there. A couple of my coaches knew their coaches very well. Once the whole thing started to happen, got his cell phone number, called him. He called me back right away. But you're dealing with one phone call a week at that time, so it was a lot of email communication from our end. And then one of the things that I always try to talk about, I want to know who's in your circle of trust. Not to quote a movie that everybody's probably seen, but I want to find out all the time in recruiting who's in your circle of trust. And his unique situation with the passing of his father, was really him by himself. He's got a brother that lives in Chicago that's a pharmaceutical, so he actually was able to join us here on a visit, and that's kind of neat for him and his brother. You can see they have a special relationship, but it was very unique.